trade barriers. Now, trade barriers arise from countries who want to protect their domestic industries, so protectionism. Now, there are many ways that countries go about this, and these types of barriers each have different advantages and disadvantages. So let's get into it. Now, first up, we have tariffs. A tariff is a tax or duty that raises the price of important products. You can think of a tariff as a international tax, per se. So it's a tax on exports. Now, for example, in 2018, the US imposed a 25% tariff on steel and 10% tariff on aluminum from EU and Canada and Mexico. Now, this means that steel and aluminum coming from these countries are going to be priced higher than they were, which you can see from this diagram. However, tariffs have advantages in that they can be used to collect government revenue. As you can see in the diagram, there's a little box named tax revenue. However, they can also, with any trade barrier, they can also cause retaliation from these countries, which is what actually happened with the US in this case, especially with the EU, as they retaliated and they put 25% tariff on US goods, which included bourbon whiskey, jeans, and motorcycles. Now, tariffs increase the world price of a good. So in the first example, it's going to increase the price of steel by 25%, which will help protect domestic industries. However, it will increase costs of people who import these goods. And by people, I mean not only just normal consumers, such as me and you, but also firms who use steel, for example, in their production process. Then we have quotas. Now, quotas are like an actual quantitative limit on a certain level of imports allowed into a country in a given time period. An example of this is in South Korea until 2014, they had quotas on imported rice. This meant that only a certain amount of imported rice was allowed into the country at a given time. This was done so the domestic farmers could be protected. However, these quotas are now replaced with tariffs. The thing with quotas is that you cannot get revenue from them. So countries tend to prefer tariffs because not only are they protecting their domestic firms, but they're also getting revenue from it. Then we have voluntary export restraint. Now this one's a bit different. It's quite similar to a quota. However, a VER, which is a shortened version of it, is imposed by the exporting country on itself. Now, usually it's not just, out of the blue. It's done with negotiation with the importing country or a request from the importing country. And therefore, it's kind of like agreed upon by both sides of the trade. However, this can get abused when you think about it. Like, powerful countries can really influence other countries to impose quotas on themselves. This was quite popular in Japan during the 1980s, where, for example, they introduced a quota limit to auto exports to the US. And this was basically done by the request of the US government. Now, why would you impose a quota on yourself, you may ask? Well, it's kind of done so the importing country doesn't induce protectionist policies on you. So it's kind of like getting ahead of the game in a way and like keeping good relations in trade. But yeah, this is kind of a different one.